Welcome back to Broken Bobby's Transformation Page. If you are new to the page, in 1990 I became involved in the drug gang world. From 92 to '06, I spent a lot of time incarcerated. I tell these stories to let you know it don't have to be you. If you're young and thinking about trying something or you're figuring out how to get out, these are my stories of this lifestyle and how it affected me, and eventually I got out and transformed my life. So let's get into today's story. So as you can see by the thumbnail, I got a banger for you guys today. Cali Prison Wars, SNY versus GP. Who wins? So let's start with a little bit of history on SNY and GP. Now, when I was doing time back in, up until 05, 06, SNY yards were very limited. There were very few of them. Like, they were on the rise, but the majority was still GP by a lot. And I remember when I was in reception, they had this list on the wall of all the different prisons and what levels they were and whether they were GP or SNY. And we all really took note of that list because we didn't want to end up on, if we somehow got sent to one of these SNY yards, we knew what time it was. We knew we had to get off and not program there. So, like I said, there was just a few of these yards back then, and in that time, the vast majority were, people that like little kids or people with those R charges forcing themselves on women or people who snitched. The gang dropout was still very in its. It was new. It was still relatively new. Like, I mean, it had been happening prior to that, don't get me wrong, but, was nowhere near the scale that it is today. And so now let's talk about general population. General population, going way back in the day, it wasn't as organized, back in the 60s and 70s and maybe even the 80s. You had the big groups, but I don't think they had nearly as much control over the yards then as they do now. Now, I could be wrong on that, but from different stories I've heard from people that were around in that era, that's what it sounds like to me. So if you are interested in this sort of content, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, drop a comment, and tell me what you think. Also, share this video if you know somebody that may enjoy this sort of content, and hit that notification bell so that whenever I drop another banger, you will be notified and you can check it out when you're ready. So, who wins? SNY, GP. SNY is sensitive needs yards, if you don't know, and basically that's the protective custody side, or that's what it was. GP, general population, that's the main line, and that's where the soldiers were, in my day. And let me say this though: if for the people that were removed from yards, that doesn't make them any less of a soldier. They just messed up basically at some point, whether it be a drug debt or something along those lines. They got in debt. They did something wrong. They lost a kite. A kite basically is a inmate note, and if you're transporting a hot kite, which basically is orders for removal, to the fullest extreme, then that's enough would be enough to get you in the hat and get you removed. So you have, in my opinion, the original side, the gangster side, the main line, as it was told to me back then. And then all these removals started happening. People messing up for whatever reason and getting removed. And sometimes people just got politicked on. And maybe they didn't even mess up. Somebody just didn't like you. And they had you removed and sent over to that other side. And basically, what happened is, the northern faction and the southern faction started new factions on that side. So think of it this way: you're a gang member and you put your whole life into this gang thing, right? You're super gangster guy and you're completely committed to this stuff. And one day you're out on the yard and a couple of guys come up and just start poking you up. And maybe you know why they're doing it, maybe you don't know why they're doing it, but basically you've committed your life to being a gangster, and now you've got 20, 30 years, a life sentence. And so now you need protective custody or to go to the sensitive needs yard. And you're not ready to quit being a gangster yet. Your chips are all in. So they went over to the other side and they started these new gangs. And, it doesn't change who they are. And there's probably a lot of resentment towards the guys that had them removed. So, they formed this gang on that side to combat the mainline gangs. And now they're growing exponentially on that side. From what I hear, pretty much every prison in the state's got at least one SNY yard on it. Some are majority SNY. And it seems as though CDCR keeps trying to integrate these upper level yards, these 3 and 4 yards. And, they'll send maybe a busload in. Maybe I heard a story someone told where they sent 10 bulldogs onto a yard. And, the bulldogs knew that they couldn't program there, but, but at the same, well, not that they couldn't program there, that they weren't welcome there. Because, they figured them bulldogs are with the business. And, they ain't no punks. So they came out and, it kicked off. But, when there's 10 of you and 200 of the enemy, the math don't math on that one, So your best bet is to strike first, maybe get a surprise attack. And, but there ain't no surprise attack when they bring basically 10 enemies of the population. And everybody, when they bring new people into the cell block, everybody's paying attention. Everybody knows what's going on. So, CDCR keeps playing games with, trying to integrate these yards, and they're putting people's lives in jeopardy when they do this. And I'm sure it goes both ways to where, GP guys are getting stuck on these SNY yards, and, the roles are reversed. Now, one thing I will say, when it's 200 against 10, at that point, the numbers really don't matter. Once you're outnumbered maybe 3 or 4 to 1, anything more than that really don't matter. There's only so much of your body that can be stabbed or kicked or punched. And at that point, people are tripping over each other trying to get at you. So, it's a nasty situation. But, there's a lot of extreme violence with this stuff. And honestly, in my opinion, I think that they're trying to integrate these upper level yards because CDCR is still upset that they let the big homies out of the shoe. And, there was a peace treaty that came with that. And, they gave their word that there wouldn't be any major disturbances. But CDCR is changing the rules and, bringing these guys out to stir things up, But, Now who wins this? I don't know. I don't have a dog in the fight. And honestly, I don't think they're going to be able to integrate. Maybe some of the softer 3 yards, they might be able to get them integrated. I've heard they've been trying that, and maybe some of them have already flipped. But the level fours, the level four 180s, and some of the really active 3 yards, I don't think it's going to go down. I really don't, especially not bringing in a busload at a time. Maybe if you literally made it 50-50, then we would see who would win. But, I don't see that happening. Who knows, though? I mean, we'll keep an eye on the press releases and see if anything happens. But, a lot of this stuff is being brushed under the rug by the CDCR. And honestly, I don't know if, by pure numbers, I would say SNY probably has the advantage. But the thing about that is some of those guys on the SNY aren't soldiers. But I hear at the same time that they're removing these guys with bad paperwork. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Drop a comment and let me know who you think is ultimately going to win this war. Family, fitness, and freedom are what allowed me to get away from this lifestyle and have these stresses to worry about. You just want to make good decisions. And something I will say, something that helped me get sober early on was, my daughters were quickly becoming teenagers. And I had this thought that, man, I hope my daughters don't bring home somebody like me. So, I had to put a plan into action to be the guy that I would want them to bring home to me. We set the example. So, if you're new into sobriety, maybe that can be some motivation for you. If you have daughters, do you want them bringing home someone like you? I think today I would say, yes, I would want them bringing home someone like me. Hopefully a little further along in life than I am at this point, but work hard and do your best. And, it's always a hustle. Everything's a hustle. Whether, you're dealing dope or going to work, YouTube, whatever it may be. You got to grind to get yours. And that's what I'm going to do until I'm unable to do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Like I said, if you're new to the channel, welcome and subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button, drop a comment, tell me what you think, and share this video. It helps to grow the channel. Also, I am on TikTok and Instagram at BrokenBobby72, and I'm on X at BrokenBobby1972. So if you're on those platforms, go on over and give me a follow, please. Don't look at the mountain. Just start climbing.